Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content.
This is Off Script with Super E, and I'm A-Train. I hope everybody's doing good. Very excited because my co-host Jay is back with us. Isn't everybody happy?
Affirmative.
Yes, it's great to see you, Jay. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be back, and, I served that suspension. I don't know why you suspended me from the show, but I don't know what the hell you and Super E were doing. But,
well, Jay, you got to fall in line.
Exactly.
I guess so. I guess so. But, yes, I am glad to be back, and off of my suspension from the show.
There was no suspension, everybody. He's trying to be funny.
Super E, how we doing?
Not too bad. I'm waiting to listen to that story that A-Train had that's had me in stitches for years that I remember.
Yeah, so it sounds like this episode is going to kind of be a little on the different side because all three of us have a little story to share.
Yes.
And
yes.
So,
how did we get this topic, Jay?
How did we get this topic?
Yeah, then we have a call in.
Oh,
or a question.
Oh yeah. You know what? See, I'm going to get suspended again. Yes. No.
Actually, turn in your headphones, Jay.
No. Yes, we did. So we had a direct message question on our Twitter, and you can find us on Twitter at Tales from the Dark Side. No, what is this?
Super E Podcast.
Super E Podcast. So, but yes, no, seriously, we did have a nice question, and the question was if we've ever had an encounter with midgets. And of course, I had to quickly correct him. That's little people, unless we're going to wake up P.T. Barnum. But anyway.
We have got some weird listeners.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Yeah, that's what they want to hear. Encounters with little people.
Yes,
i.e. midgets.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we can't say that M word.
Well, we're going to try not to say that. Good luck.
Okay, that's weird.
Yep.
But what's even weirder is that we all three have stories.
I know. I mean, when we were prepping for the show, I'm like, hey, guys, check this out. And, of course, nobody was silent. It was, we got one, I got one, A-Train's got one. Of course, Super E's got one.
Of course. Of course he does. Yes. So, all right. Well, you want me to kick it off with mine?
So,
yes.
Super E, why don't you do the honors and tell A-Train to tell us a tale?
Oh.
A-Train, could you please tell us this hilarious tale that you had from a few years back?
I'd be happy to, Super E. So here's the deal. I hadn't been on the department very long. I was in uniform. I was working late shift on East District and the East District Vice Narcotics guys.
East District, huh?
I'm not supposed to say East District? Okay, so I was working on the east side of this town. And so anyway, occasionally the Vice Narcotics guys there would... they would ask for uniform guys to come in, do a detail on Vice Narcotics, kind of get new faces out there. So I'm like, well, sure, I'll do it. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. But so anyway, went out, and this was the first night. So it was me and another guy that had actually come on the police department with me. We'll call him Bobby. So first night.
Is that the Bobby that I know that's like really tall?
He's super tall.
Okay.
6'7", maybe?
I'd say
he's about 6'7". He goes about 270.
Right. He was a big, tall guy. So anyway, first night, neither one of us knew what the heck we were doing. So it was Big Steve who worked Vice, our good buddy, right, Super E?
Yes.
And then there was Sergeant Ron. So first night, we're out there. They're like, okay, we're going to go pick up some street prostitutes. So Bobby's in the car ahead of me. I'm behind Bobby, Big Steve, Sergeant Ron behind me. So we're rolling down the street, and I look up there, and they're on the sidewalk, right on the curb of the street, is a little person, and he's got his little thumb out, and looked like he was a little hustler, is what he was. Super E.
Exactly.
So we're like, oh, okay, well that's new. So Sergeant Ron gets on the radio and says, "Hey, Bobby, pick him up." And I was so relieved he didn't say, "Hey, A-Train, pick him up." So anyway, so 6'7" Bobby picks this little person up. He gets in the car and
You mean like literally like lifted him up,
no.
carried him around,
No,
or what?
the little guy on his own accord got in the vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Was able to open the door and get in. So we're following Bobby for a little bit, and then we see the signal that he got the proposition. And turn signal goes on. He pulls in a parking lot. So we pull in behind him, and we're walking up, and I think Big Steve might have was ahead of me, and I could see Bobby's head darn near touching the headliner, and I couldn't see the passenger's head, but I could see his little arms waving, and he was real animated. And as you got closer, you could hear him yelling, and he was really, really fired up. He's screaming something like this to Bobby: "I ain't no punk! I ain't no punk! You're the punk!" And we're like, "What the heck?" So Steve opens the door, and he's steady screaming and all this. So get him out. We get the little guy calmed down. Sergeant Ron goes over to the Bobby and says, "Okay, well, what happened?" And Bobby was really reluctant to tell the story. So he's like, "Well, we got to know. Okay, what happened?" So Bobby's like, "Well, picked him up. I asked him, 'Are you working?' And little guy says, 'Yeah, I'm working.' And little guy, he goes, 'What do you want?' And Bobby's like, 'I don't know. If I give you $20, will you give me head?' And that incensed the little guy. So he starts screaming at Bobby, No, I'm no punk. I ain't no punk." He goes, "Why don't you give me $20 and I'm going to fuck you in your ass?"
Oh,
Yeah. And then I'm not the punk, you're the punk. So he didn't like that. And I think this harkens back to when Super E was telling us about how the hustlers want to be in charge.
right.
This little guy wanted to be in charge. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Of Big Bobby.
of Big Bobby. So Sergeant Ron, Big Steve, and I were laughing pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. So we're gonna fast forward about a week. Big Steve, Bobby, and I, we went to dinner. Big Steve's driving. Bobby's in the front seat. I'm in the back seat. And Big Steve was a prankster, wasn't he? Super 8.
Yes,
Jay, yeah. So he sees this little fella standing right next to a stop sign. He's got his little thumb out again. And Steve pulls over to the curb as he gets the passenger window as close to this guy as he could. And he rolls Bobby's window down. And they just look at each other. And this is all they said. They just kind of, nodded their head. "What's up?" And that's
What's
all.
up?
That's it. What's up? Yeah. So then the last part of this story is when it came time for court, I was going to go to court because I wanted to see 6'7" Bobby standing in front of the bench with this little fella. And so I got to court, and I'm sitting there in the peanut gallery waiting, for the festivities. And Bobby didn't show up for court that day. Yeah.
Case dismissed.
Case dismissed.
Oh,
I think he was a little embarrassed, but that's
After I heard this story, I saw that guy. I saw that little person on the street, and I was just dying laughing because when Big Steve told me that Big Bob was like 6'7", and this guy was so little, and he goes, "Oh no, I ain't the punk. You're the punk, bitch. I'm gonna fuck you in the ass."
he was just so upset.
why am I picturing that joke about the ant and the elephant? And
Oh, yeah.
and the ant helps the elephant get free. The elephant's like, "What do you want?" And he goes, I want to bang you." So this little ant crawls up and starts banging the elephant, and this monkey up in a tree sees it, starts thinking it's just hilarious, gets to throwing coconuts at him.
Okay.
Hits the elephant in the head with a coconut, and the elephant's like, "Ow!" And the little ant goes, "Take it all, bitch."
That's what I kind of imagined.
I just
on
keep
this,
picturing that.
the little bitty guy and great big Bob, and him not taking any shit. Bob was very big and intimidating. And for this guy to go, I ain't the punk, you're the punk.
Well, I never would have pictured him doing the Vice stuff anyway for that very reason. I couldn't see him being able to just, play the role.
He wasn't in there very long.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, no, he wasn't in there very long. Yeah. So that's my little person story. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
I want to give the listeners what they want.
Well, yeah, that's what we're here for.
Right.
But they wanted it. So, Super E, tell us your tale.
Well, when A-Train was talking about that this morning, my wife jogged my memory. I couldn't remember any of my little people stories. I couldn't remember. And then she reminded me of an incident I had where the unit I was in, we had just done something, and we were done, and we met back at this place. It's like debriefing and saying, okay, this is what happened. I'm going to do the paperwork. I'm going to do this, the other one. I'm going to go home. I'm going to eat, whatever. And so we're all leaving the McDonald's parking lot that was on we were on the west side of town. I'm getting ready to turn right, to turn east on the main drag there, and I saw this banana yellow, 94 Mustang just come kind of flying up on my side of the car, went around me to cut me off to try to get out. As I was pulling out to go eastbound, so was he, but he was making a big wide sweep on me and almost hit me. And when I saw the banana yellow 94 Ford Mustang, it immediately was screaming to me, NASCAR, Mountain Dew, Marlboros. And so he honked at me or whatever, and then I was like, I didn't do nothing, so I'm just driving eastbound. And then I could see that it was this yellow Mustang was just going real slow, and it was getting small in my rear view mirror. And then so I get about like a half mile down the road, then I hear this engine kick in, and all of a sudden the front grille of that Ford Mustang, banana yellow, is filling up my rear view mirror. He was doing the Mad Max, he hit the nitrous button and was flying up on me like he was going to smash into the back of my vehicle. And I hit the gas, and then he hit the brake and just kind of like stopped. And so I started going. I was like, holy shit, that guy almost smashed into me on purpose. So I immediately pulled off the side of the road, and, I was going to let him go by me, but I jumped out of my vehicle to say, to do the universal, what the hell's going on? So the guy's coming eastbound, and I thought he was just going to drive past me. He drives off the road and acts like he's going to run over me. Oh. And I had to do the Joe Mannix fly out of the way. And for everybody, Google Joe Mannix, you'll understand that reference.
He was always diving and rolling.
Yeah, diving and rolling.
Yeah.
So now I'm furious. So I jump in my truck, and all my backup, they're all driving eastbound on the main drag street too. So they saw what just happened. So they see me jump in my car, and I take off to get the license plate, whatever. Mm-hmm. And comes to a red light, and there's a lot of traffic. This dude has to stop. Now, I don't, the windows are tinted, so I don't even know who's in the vehicle. So I think somebody's calling in. But that might be another listener with a question. But
there want more midget stories. I mean, little person stories.
Yes, yes. So, anyways, I race up on them. They're stopped at the stoplight. I jump out. I run over, and I rip the car door open to see who's driving this vehicle. I stick my head in, and what do I see? I see a fucking midget with a fucking mullet. And I'm like, oh my God.
Little person with a mullet?
I'm sorry. I see a little person with a mullet. And I'm like, holy shit. Then I look down and I see the big wooden blocks on the gas pedal and the brake pedal. I'm like, oh my God, he's got wooden blocks. And then it's like, even his tiny Air Jordans can barely touch him. I'm like, no. I'm fucking with the little person with a mullet with blocks and tiny Jordans. So then I look over into the passenger seat, and what do I see? I see this extremely attractive, yet extremely skanky, trashy girl passenger. She was probably Miss Trailer Park Queen universe of infinity. But she was...
That's quite a title.
The normal height?
Yes, normal height.
What kind of question is that?
Well,
Very well built.
you're right. I'm
She
sorry.
she was wearing a tube top with the elastic in the back was getting loose.
Nice.
Cut off Daisy Dukes, platform shoes, too much mascara, and
Easy
way
over
too
there,
long,
A-Trace.
way too long of fake eyelashes, which meant jackpot. So I immediately went from being mad to when I saw this little person with this extremely good-looking girl in a car, I went into anti-cock block mode, which all guys have anti-cock block modes unless you're a complete douchebag. So I immediately realized, because when I ripped the door open, the guy said to me, he goes, "Hey man, I don't want any trouble." And then when my brain gathered all this in, I thought, oh shit, this guy has a chance with this good-looking girl, and I'm going to humiliate him. So I went into anti-cock block mode, and I said to him, "Hey man, I am so sorry. It was my fault. I just wanted to stop and tell you that I apologize for this, and I'm sorry." And he was like, "Okay, man, thanks." And I could see the girl was looking at me, and I just didn't want to be a jerk because we all have this in us. We don't want to ruin this guy's chances, especially him being a little guy. I mean, he was kind of like my idol right then. And so out of the corner of my eye, I could see that my partners were racing up to me because they thought I was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I shut the door, and now you want to quote what I said.
Okay.
I was saying, "Everybody get back in your car. It's a fucking midget. Get back in your cars. It's a midget with a mullet." And they were like, what? Get back in the car, midget with mullet? Okay. So they all went diving back in the cars. And I said, "Let's get the hell out of here." And I let this guy go. And I crossed my fingers for him that he still had the admiration of Miss Trailer Park Queen, Redneck Universe.
Super E, that is really admirable of you. You get to keep your man card. That was cool. You didn't want to hurt his chances.
I didn't. I immediately thought, oh my God, I don't want to, number one, I don't want to embarrass this guy. Even though he just tried to kill me.
Right.
I understood this girl's very good looking.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little person.
Mm-hmm.
And if it took for him to impress this girl by trying to run over the bipedal albino gorilla, I said I'd be on board with that. I could take jumping on the hood of my car for him to impress this girl.
Well, that was cool.
How do you think it turned out for him later on? Super. How do you think it turned out for him later on?
I have no idea. I never saw him again. He put that 5.0 banana yellow Mustang in drive and took off.
As he drove off, he was telling that girl, "See, I ain't no punk."
Exactly.
I ain't no punk.
Exactly.
He's the punk. You see.
Well, that was. You know what? That was very good of you, Super E.
Yeah, you're
I'm
hell.
very impressed. I'm very impressed with you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you very much.
You know what? That is a veteran move right there.
Yes.
Both dude and
exactly.
cop. That's like the dual veteran move. Dude move and cop move.
Yep.
I hope that gets me into heaven. I hope that when they look down on all my past indiscretions, they go, "Wait a minute. He made sure that little guy had a chance with a very good-looking girl."
I kind of hope God isn't a little person because he might be mad at us for the show, but whatever, I guess.
So back in the mid to late 80s, I was going to a particular race in a particular city, that
Car race
that
Okay.
captivated pretty much the entire world the Sunday that it's ran.
Okay, I know what
Anyway,
you're talking about.
Right. So there's this one particular part of the inside of said track that it's changed a lot now, but back in those days it was something, especially for a 17-year-old boy to be going around. Well, anyway, so
Yeah, it was a little wild.
yeah, so my buddy and I were rolling around in that part of the town, of the track, I should say, and we saw lots of drinking, lots of bathing suit tops pulled to the side, coming off, coming down, all the things that went on in this place, right? So 2 years in a row, we saw the same girl at the same place doing the same striptease show with, in the back of this pickup truck. But we also saw this one year was a really tall, maybe 6'5", 6'6" dude, built like a brick shithouse, walking around with a camera around his neck, and along the side of him was his little buddy, a midget, a little person, right?
Good.
So he would go up to girls and ask if the little person, if he could have his picture taken with him.
All right.
And naturally they would oblige. Well, just as the photo was about to be snapped, he would yank their tops down.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
So my friend and I decided to follow him around a little bit just to see what other adventures they may be getting into.
Right. He sounded like an adventurous little guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We thought, oh my gosh, we just want to go see what's going on. So anyway, so we followed them around. So this is like your circa 1985, 86, right in there. Let's fast forward to 1993. I'm young, brand new on the department, working middle shift. And as my shift was ending, the future Mrs. J lived on my district. So I was just stopping in just to say hi to her before I went and turned my car in. We don't take on cars yet. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, go to turn my stuff in and then come back over and, hang out. So we're sitting on our porch talking. I'm, police car parked out front, inner uniform. Neighbor pulls up next door, and it's a little person. He doesn't know that she and I have been dating. Yells over, check on Mrs. J to see if she's okay. And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I'm fine. Come and meet my new friend. So he comes over. I shake his hand. I look at him, and I couldn't help myself. I just blurted out, I'm like, you're that midget from the track.
Oh shit! Oh no! Oh no!
And he looks at me and he goes, what?
Oh my God! Oh, jeez.
So we had a quick conversation. I told him the story I just told you, and he starts laughing his head off. He says, you should see the collection that I have. Oh, God. And I'm like, well, I probably better not. But yeah, I recognize you. And so couldn't wait to go call my buddy that I went to the races with to tell him about it. The listener that, you get what you ask for.
We delivered.
That's right.
So if you ask for something, if you send us a question, we're going to answer it. We're probably going to be able to give you what you want.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll have a few stories to back it up. Well, Super E, you got anything to say to close this out?
Well, all I can say that we all had some entertaining stories to talk about our friends, the little people, who we admire, and not mocking, but we're just telling stories that happened to us.
That is correct.
Amen.
That is correct. This was bizarre. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, this was, it's a heck of a welcome back, too.
Yeah, welcome back, Jay. We're going to talk about little people.
Off my suspension, and, here you go. Good grief. All right, A-Train, take us out of here.
All right, I will see y'all later.
Are we off?